Hi, my name is Trent Mayshode, and I'm here to talk to you about my multimedia assignment for English for You, Mr. Lord's class to be exact. So my ISP, I did it on 3-Day Road and the Book of Negroes. So these are two very different books, but they have a lot of similarities, which I'm going to tell you about. So I'm going to start with 3-Day Road. 3-Day Road is by Joseph Boyden. It's actually originally based off of a Canadian war hero, but instead of just basing it with one person's point of view, he decided to have three main characters, two voices that you hear, two different voices. You get to hear Xavier's voice, who is one of the two main characters that fight in the war, alongside Alaj, who is the other main character. Now, Xavier can't speak very good English, so Alaj speaks a lot of the time, but we're still hearing Xavier's voice throughout this entire thing, back and forth between their aunt, Nefertiti. So she is another voice that you hear because she is the one that is waiting for both of them to come back. So anyways, so what happens mainly in this book is that Xavier and Elijah are two Indian boys from Northern Ontario. Now, when they get to the war, they meet very many other people. Now, they get made fun of a lot because they're Indians, you know. Back then, there was a lot of prejudice, and back in the 1920s, there was a lot of prejudice about everybody. There was still prejudice about black people all the time, and any other sort of race. So the Indians got made fun of a lot. Now, Alaj didn't like this at all. He didn't like not being able to fit in and being made fun of. Xavier didn't really, he didn't like it, but he didn't mind it at the same time because he loved his culture. He always stood behind his roots. Now, Alaj changed a lot throughout this entire thing. He tried to become more British, and he even talked like British people. He talked with a British accent. He said words they would say, and acted like them so that he became more fitted in. And then he lost his roots. He didn't care about his roots anymore. So he had to have something that he was obsessed about. Xavier had his roots, which kept him sane and kept him wanting to go home. Now, Alaj got obsessed with killing. So that is one thing that he became with. But he changed to help himself survive because he fit in more with British and everybody else. So he didn't get made fun of as much, and he was learning how to survive in the war, which was mainly by, you can't really think about it, you just got to do it. So that's this one. Now we also have the Book of Negroes by Lawrence Hill. Now the Book of Negroes is about a girl named Aminata. So Aminata is taken from her town in Africa when she's 11 years old from her mother and her father, and made to walk all the way to the Atlantic Ocean, which takes a very long time. So she walks all the way to the Atlantic Ocean and then gets shipped from the Africa all the way to the States, where she becomes a slave. She's sold and becomes a slave. Now, secretly, she learns how to read and write so that she can be more useful as a slave and, not so much kicked to the curb right away because they can't do anything. So when she gets sold to her slave master, Solomon Lindo, she is allowed to openly read and write, and she also becomes a midwife as well. So any money that she owned, she gets from midwifery, she has to give to Lindo. So by doing this, she is making herself more useful. She's taking all of her resources and changing herself so that she become more useful to help her survive, which in the end proves out perfect because when the American Revolutionary War breaks out, she escapes, and Britain is sending slaves from the States into Canada, to Nova Scotia to be exact. So because she can read and write and understand more than just English but her African languages, she's made to help the Book of Negroes. So she helps make the Book of Negroes, which is over 3,000 signatures. It's a real document, and it's 3,000 signatures of people that were slaved in the States but were sent to Canada to be free. So she helps with this, and by helping with this, she always hung on to her culture. She always wanted to go back home, back to her home village, to see her parents, to see her village, to help there. So after she's been in Nova Scotia a while, she ends up going back to Africa, and she becomes a teacher. She's still a midwife, and she's teaching people how to read and write. She's using her resources that she learned by changing to survive. So she uses all this, but then she ends up finally being able to go back to her hometown. But she realizes as she's trying to get there that if she does this, she may not survive. So instead, she changes her thoughts. She still holds on to that culture of her African culture by trying to help other Africans. So she changes again. Now, by changing, she helps get rid of. She goes to England. She tries to help abolish slavery. Now, the main thing between these two books is change. Change is the big thing. Change to survive. Now, that is what I talked about in my essay. How Aminata chose the right path of changing, but she still hung on to her roots, which gave her something to hold herself to survive. Now, Alaj did the same thing, but he didn't hold on to his roots. He changed so that he could survive, but he didn't hold on to anything to help him, to give them that will to survive. It's like being sent somewhere, like being lost on an island. What's going to give you to survive? Yes, you're going to change yourself to be able to survive to that habitat, but what are you going to do if you don't have anything to hold on to? If you don't have, you don't want to go back home. You don't have family. You don't have a wife or kids or anything like that that you want to go back home to. So you don't care. You just kind of hang out and eventually you die. Whereas that's what happened to Alaj. But Book of Negroes, Aminata didn't do that. She held on to her roots. She changed to survive. But she still held on to her roots so that she could go home one day. And still, so she survived and she ended up living quite a great life by near the end. Obviously, she went through a lot of hardships, but by the end, she was able to live the life that she eventually wanted to. Now, we will never go through things like these people did in these books, but like our generation. But we need to learn from these lessons and know that change is good. Change to survive, change to do whatever is great, but we can never lose our roots. I hold on to my roots every day, especially with the FIFA World Cup on. I'm partly English, and England's my favorite team. I cheer for them. There's many people that cheer for all of their cultures. The Netherlands, so the Dutch cheer for the Netherlands, the Spanish cheer for Spain, the Italians cheer for Italy. They hold on to their roots, and that's what we need to do. We need to hold on to our roots. Even if we change, we should always hold on to them. So thank you for listening to me, and I hope you have a great day. So these are my two books, and that is it. Thank you very much.